Action.
Striking.
Hi, I'm Nate.
And I'm Anna, and welcome to Overexposed.
Overexposed is a brand new show here at KUTV.
It has informative pieces on interesting sites and locations in and around Kutztown.
It features interesting students and faculty here on KU's campus.
And in each episode, there's an original comedy sketch written and produced by KU students.
We are very excited to be able to bring you this first episode of this brand new show, so let's get started.
On our first segment, The Observer, we get an up-close and personal look into Dr. Kevin McClosky's children's books. Dr. McClosky teaches here at KU, but also writes children's books and shares his ideas for his previous books and a new one that he is currently working on. Let's take a look.
I'm Kevin McClosky. I teach communication design at Kutztown University. I've been here 28 years. Well, Kutztown's been very helpful. I teach illustration, basically drawing pictures for books, in large ways and small. Kutztown's given me grants to travel. I've managed to get to Mexico with students and open my eyes to all sorts of different sorts of art. So in ways large and small, Kutztown has had my back. My wife is a librarian, and she goes out to various libraries and reads children's books to kids. And the way it works with the county, Berks County, is she has to have 3 books on the same topic. She said if she had a 3rd worm book, she could do a project about worms. And so I made a book about worms for her. I called it If Worms Could Talk. I did a little bit of research, and I found worms were quite fascinating. And because worms recycle soil, I decided to draw it on paper bags. I wrote a book years ago called Mrs. Fitz's Flamingos back in the 90s, but in the recent years I've been doing science graphic novels for kids, and it began with We Dig Worms, The Real Poop on Pigeons, Something's Fishy, and coming in the spring there'll be one called Snails, Just My Speed. You always think the one you're working on is the best, and I haven't quite finished the snail book. It's going a little bit slow, and I think it's going to be splendid. I teach an introduction to illustration where the students work with pen and ink and pencils and paints, traditional media. I think my students are surprised that so many books are still done with the old-fashioned media, and really it's something I'm better at. It's sort of akin to being a musician, because you have to practice hours and hours to get the brush to move where you think it's going to move, or your pen to make the lines you expect. So it takes a lot of practice, and illustration classes are what I teach the most.
Those books look great. I think adults probably have lots of fun with them as well. Congrats to Dr. McClosky, and we wish him success on his new book. Up next, we have Catch a Sketch, our comedy segment. In this episode, 2 students discuss the meaning of life. Or do they?
Ian, do you ever wonder...
Yeah, I have.
What?
It's a really good book. I think there's a movie coming out soon, actually.
That's not what I meant. Do you ever know what the point of all this is?
Our living room? It's where we watch TV and ignore our moms. Does it need much more point?
Not the living room, just living.
You okay, pal?
I mean, look at us. We do the same thing every day. We wake up, we go to class, we come home. We eat cheap ramen. We study for classes we don't care about, and we do it all again the next day. We pay tens of thousands of dollars just to do that, which only puts us in more debt.
You sound kind of bummed out. Let's try TV again. TV always helps.
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it's not that hard to understand, really. Electricity goes through the wall, and then there's this plasma stuff, and it becomes color. Simple as that.
I'm talking about life, man.
What does cereal have to do with it?
Just forget it.
No. I'm listening. You're not tech savvy, and you buy bland cereal. I understand, absolutely.
I could have done something important with my life. I wanted to chase my dreams. Besides, once we get out of here, we'll end up in dead-end jobs that don't fulfill what we want.
I know what you mean. Eating cheap ramen for the rest of my life was all I ever dreamed of. Want a bite? It's beef flavored.
I'm glad you have everything figured out.
Oh, come on. Things will get better from here on out.
You don't know that.
Actually, I do. You're right. None of this matters.
What?
Think about it. Do you remember a time before this when you didn't feel this way?
Well, now that you mention it, not really. I've always been in a slump.
No. Do you remember anything before us sitting in this room at all?
No?
Exactly. And you know what that means?
What?
This whole thing is just a sketch for the first episode of Catch a Sketch!
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I'm a genius. Oh my god, everyone's gonna love this. So, what did you think?
Yeah, I don't love it. Not gonna lie, it's not very good.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
Not your best work.
What the fuck? This sucks. Nobody is gonna find this funny. I'm a genius.
That was great. Great twist at the end of the sketch. It's great that students are getting to write and produce some comedy here at KU. The Cinema, Television, and Media Production Department recently started offering some comedy writing courses, which seem to be a really big hit with the students. Up next and in focus, we have a visit to the old jail in Jim Thorpe. It's a historic landmark and might even be haunted. Let's visit the owner, Betty Lou, and get the inside scoop on the jail.
I'm Betty Lou McBride. My husband and I are the owners of the Old Jail Museum. The history of the jail: it was built in 1871 at a cost of $125,000. The architect was Edward Haviland, whose father was John Haviland, who was the architect for the Eastern State Penitentiary. It was used, as I said, until 1995, when we took over, the prisoners were then moved to the new jail. The Molly Maguires were the coal miners in the 1800s who came from Ireland, found conditions very difficult there, came here, got jobs in the mines, found conditions absolutely horrible and depressing in the mines, and when they revolted and went against the coal company owners and said, "We need help," they were turned down. Coal company said no. With this, fighting started. The men known as the Molly Maguires were the coal miners who tried to make things better in the coal mines, in both the working conditions and in their pay. Eventually, there were 7 of them hanged right here in the old jail. And one of them was being Thomas Fisher, whose handprint is on the wall. Most people think it's Alexander Campbell's because all the things on the website say it's Campbell's. People ask often if there are ghosts here in the building. I have had numerous reports of spirits and strange experiences here, but they are here. Are they the Molly Maguires? We're not sure. No ghost has jumped out and said, "Hi, I'm Alexander Campbell," or "I'm Thomas Fisher." But they have appeared to people. I have seen things when I'm the only one here. My husband has seen things when he's the only one here. We have experienced things. Mostly it's the public that feels things when they come here, but we cannot say who the spirits are. The impact that the jail has on the community is a lot of people walking up the street. Right now, the jail attracts a large number of people all the times that we're open, and I'm sure that they stop in the businesses as they pass by. They get a view of the businesses as they pass by. So it does have that impact on the community. It also shows that Jim Thorpe, at the time of the Industrial Revolution, was a very important place. This was the city. Jim Thorpe was the city. People came from the small towns to the city of Jim Thorpe. The old jail preservation is important not only to the people of Jim Thorpe, but to all of history. It's an outstanding example of prison architecture of the time. It shows you what a building looked like at that time and how jails were, but it also gives you the story of the men known as the Molly Maguires, which is a story of men who suffered, who worked enslaved, and because of what they did, we have the lifestyle that we have today.
It looks like a really cool place. It would be a great place to visit, and it's not too far away. It's always interesting to go back in history and learn about the past. Up next on In Focus, we are featuring a segment that was produced last semester by Joe Finney and Zach Esposito, 2 CTM students. This piece was nominated for a College Emmy and take us for a very close-up look at Reptileland.
Well, we specialize in reptiles and amphibians, so you'll have everything from very small, colorful poison dart frogs to king cobra. We have large alligators, gaboon viper, mambas, various species of vipers, rattlesnakes, for example, our native copperhead, giant pythons, reticulated pythons, and big anacondas. So it's a well-represented collection of reptiles from all over the world. And I think we always have strived to select animals that people want to see. And we choose animals based on that, based on whether or not they're endangered and need help with captive breeding. I think they want to see big reptiles, dangerous reptiles. They want to interact with our staff, and we provide 5 programs a day where they can ask questions and get a short lecture about the animals. Obviously, the Komodo dragons are a very big attraction here. There are only a scattered number of zoos throughout the country that have Komodo dragons, and we probably have one of the best, if not the best, Komodo dragon habitats in any zoo. A big part of the program for any zoo, and us included, is to have captive colonies that are genetically diverse, with the idea that not only are we providing specimens for zoo exhibits, but we have assurance colonies that may, if we ever as a species get our act together and stop fragmenting habitat, we may have assurance colonies which would allow us to reintroduce a species that might be either very rare or extinct in the wild.
Well, that's the show. Nate, that was a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what's in store for the next show.
Me too. The producers tell us that we will be visiting a winery, St. Peter's Village, and meeting a few folks who are very attached to their coffee maker. Sounds interesting for sure.
Yeah, it sure does. Well, until then, thanks so much for joining us here on Overexposed. Have a great week.